My best friend replaced me as maid of honor with a new friend she met at a party, but I have no idea why. It felt like just yesterday my best friend, Anna, was telling me about how her boyfriend had proposed. We'd been friends since middle school, sharing secrets, laughs, and all the ups and downs that come with growing up together. It was a whirlwind of emotions for both of us, and I couldn't have been happier for her. It was like a dream come true when Anna asked me to be her maid of honor. She called me, all excited and bubbling over with joy, and without a second thought, I said yes. It was a no-brainer. We dove headfirst into wedding planning. We spent hours at bridal shops, trying on dresses, laughing over mismatched shoes, and making lists that felt more like wish lists than actual plans. It was all about creating a magical day for Anna, filled with the things she'd always dreamed of. She'd chosen a beautiful lavender color scheme for the bridesmaids' dresses, and I was so excited to help her pick the perfect ones. I even helped her design a custom floral headpiece, using my skills in art to turn her vision into a reality. But things weren't all smooth sailing. Anna mentioned early on that her budget was a bit tight, and she asked me to pay for my own dress and to chip in for some of the other costs. She wasn't asking for a lot, and I really wanted to support her. I knew we weren't the same financially, and I wanted her to feel like she didn't have to worry about money for her big day. 3 months before the wedding, we were at a party. We met a girl named Lynn. Lynn was the girlfriend of one of Anna's fiancé's friends. Right away, Anna seemed to be completely charmed by Lynn. They chatted non-stop, laughed, and exchanged phone numbers. Lynn was all smiles, and she seemed genuinely interested in Anna, telling her about her career as a graphic designer and all the places she'd traveled. She even told Anna a funny story about how Anna's mom worked with her mom and how Anna's cousin used to babysit Lynn's little sister. It felt a little odd, since I didn't really know Lynn. But I was happy for Anna, and I hoped she'd make a new friend. Then everything started to shift. I noticed Anna wasn't texting me back as often, or responding to my messages with the same enthusiasm she used to. She'd usually reply within a few minutes, but now I was waiting hours, sometimes even a whole day, for a simple text back. I tried not to take it personally. I knew she was busy with the wedding, and I didn't want to stress her out with my questions. A few weeks later, I saw Lynn popping up on Anna's social media stories. She was always there, tagging along on weekend adventures, and Anna was always posting about how much fun they were having. It was a little strange, considering how short a time they'd known each other. I'd always been the one she'd shared these moments with. When we finally did hang out, it was usually just for wedding planning, and it felt different. We'd talk about all the details I needed to take care of, how much money I was contributing, and how to coordinate my outfits. Then, inevitably, Anna would get a text or a call, and she'd have to rush off to meet Lynn. She'd say, "Oh, it's just a quick catch-up," but I'd notice her texts were suddenly more urgent. Anna had even chosen Lynn's bridesmaid dress herself. I remember how thrilled she was, and she kept talking about how amazing the dress was going to look. At that point, I was starting to feel a bit left out. As the wedding date drew closer, it all started to feel so distant. The bachelorette party, which I had planned and paid for, was just 2 weeks away. In the morning, before we headed off, I asked Anna about Lynn and whether she was going to be a bridesmaid. A wave of uncertainty washed over Anna's face, and for a split second, I thought she'd chosen to back out of making Lynn her maid of honor. But then, in a voice that was quieter than usual, she told me, "I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm sorry I haven't told you sooner, but I'm making Lynn my maid of honor." The words felt like a blow to the stomach. It felt like all the laughter and late nights spent planning together were fading away. I'd felt so close to Anna, and she'd promised me this role. I just stood there, shocked and stunned, unable to find the right words. I didn't want to ruin her party, so I just forced a smile and tried to hide my pain. Later that day, at the party, Anna introduced Lynn to everyone as her new maid of honor. The music was playing, and people were dancing and having fun. Most people were happy for them, but there was something awkward in the air, like everyone was aware of what had just happened. It felt like everyone was staring at me. I left the party before it ended. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and I needed to be alone. I couldn't face the idea of being in the same room with Anna. I haven't spoken to Anna in months. The phone calls, the texts, everything just stopped. It was as if she had just disappeared. I felt betrayed, and I didn't understand what I had done wrong. It wasn't a surprise that I felt hurt. Over the last few months, I've been trying to make sense of everything. Was I truly a bad friend? Had I done something to deserve this kind of treatment? Was she really so eager to replace me? I keep replaying that moment, her saying, "I'm sorry I haven't told you sooner," and it makes me wonder. Why hadn't she told me? Was she hiding it from me on purpose? It's been tough to move on from this experience. It feels like part of my life was suddenly erased. I thought we were close, but I was wrong. And now I'm left wondering if I can ever trust someone like that again. Even though I've been trying to move forward, I'm still hurting, and I'm starting to learn that even the closest friendships can change without a clear explanation. I've also realized that I need to stand up for myself more, to create boundaries for myself, and to recognize when someone is taking advantage of me. It was pretty upsetting to realize that all the money I had spent on Anna's wedding, helping out where I could, felt like a slap in the face, an insult, considering how she pushed me aside. I need to be more careful with my energy and make sure that I'm not letting anyone take advantage of me or of my friendship. I guess I've learned a lot this year. Sometimes, people that you think you know the best can end up being the ones that hurt you the most. Next story. Entitled Prick comes to my hotel demanding a room. It was late, around 12:30 a.m., and I was working the night shift at the hotel. The phone rang, and a guy asked if we had a room for tonight and tomorrow. I said yes, we did. He said, "No, just one night," so right away, I knew this wasn't going to be easy. He said he'd be there in a couple of minutes and wanted to make the reservation when he arrived. I explained that we only had one room left and needed a credit card to hold it. He yelled at me, saying he was driving and couldn't get a credit card number because he needed to watch the road. He told me to just hold the room for him. I told him if he was only 2 minutes away, it wouldn't be a problem, but I couldn't hold the room without a credit card. Plus, he wasn't even sure how many nights he wanted. He hung up without saying anything and then showed up 30 minutes later, 2 minutes my butt. Right away, he argued with me about the length of stay. It was technically Sunday since it was after 1 a.m., but our system still considered it Saturday night. Plus, even if he wanted to check in right away, I couldn't do it with a Sunday reservation because check-in was at 3 p.m. He'd still be charged for Saturday night. It's just how it works. If we let him check in, it would be like giving him a free night because he wanted to leave on Monday. Finally, he gave up and threw his passport at me. When I asked for his credit card, he pointed to his phone and said he'd tap it. I told him we don't take tap and he needed to use a physical card, put it in the machine, and enter his PIN. He got even more mad and said he lost his wallet and didn't have a credit card. I told him I couldn't make the reservation unless he had a physical credit card with his name on it. He said he'd pay cash instead, but I explained we didn't accept cash. He was furious and begged me to make an exception. I apologized and repeated everything I had already told him. He went to his car, came back with a wallet, even though he said he lost it, and handed me a credit card. He claimed it belonged to his wife. I told him again the card needed to be in his name, or his wife would have to be here with her ID. He started yelling again and demanded to pay cash. I told him politely that any hotel in the area would tell him the same thing. I wasn't being difficult. It was just a standard hotel policy, for liability reasons, and I couldn't book him. He stormed out again, and we got a call from his wife. My manager answered it. She explained he had been unfairly kicked out of his Airbnb, not the best argument, and we needed to accept his credit card or take cash. My manager repeated what I had said, and his wife argued some more. Finally, he drove off, and we never heard from them again, thank goodness. It's a high-end hotel, going for 5 stars, so it makes sense to not accept walk-in cash, especially on a weekend night. I don't know why he had to be such a jerk about it. If he'd been polite and had his own card, I would have been happy to give him a room. But when he started yelling and acting like it was my fault, I couldn't give him an inch. It's a tough job sometimes. It feels like everyone expects special treatment. The only special treatment we give is to the guests who are respectful and understanding. You know what they say, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.